Well, my friends, I finally got my hands on the Pixel 11 Pro, and I have to say, it's a genuinely hard phone to talk about right now, and not because of the device itself, but because of all the conflicting narrative surrounding it. Prices went up, the battery size went down, the new highlight feature is severely underbaked, the Tensor G6 chip already hasn't met user expectations, all while cynicism towards AI, Google's bread and butter, is at an all-time high. That said, I've been using the Pixel 11 Pro for the past week, trying to take a good, hard, honest look at this device to see where the value is. And of course, if you want to stay up to date on all Google coverage like this, consider subscribing to the channel because we have way more Pixel 11 content coming your way. Now, this is only an early impression, but I did want to start out talking about the newest additions first, which is Highlight, arguably the biggest change from a hardware standpoint, and unfortunately, it seems like the conversation surrounding Highlight is way more interesting than the actual feature itself, which is a huge shame. Simply put, Highlight is incredibly half-baked, and it's almost depressing if I'm being honest. And don't get me wrong, guys, the concept makes complete and total sense to me. From my experience, a lot of people put their phone face down in a wide variety of circumstances, and logically one would expect to get a lot of use out of Highlight. You can set it to glow when an important call comes in, which is a great idea. You can also have it mimic a smart speaker of sorts, acting like a status light when it's listening, thinking, or responding via Gemini. That's fun too, and no doubt a great surprise and delight moment having it light up and respond, so there's no complaints about the current functionality, at least on my end. What really kills me about Highlight though is that we only have 2 use cases, which makes the entire thing feel frustrating. Unlike software, a hardware feature that doesn't do enough feels like a big physical waste of space, and I'd probably go as far to say that sticking with the temperature sensor for another year to allow Highlight to fully mature a bit might have been the smarter move. No doubt, a lot of people are going to like this feature, but for those already not impressed with the hardware, it's low-hanging fruit that paints the Pixel 11 in such a negative light, and it's actually frustrating in my eyes. Like, where's the individual notifications for specific apps? Where's the classic LED notification light like we had on old school Android devices? Where's the ambient status mode to indicate charging, timers, or alarms? Where's the music or now playing visualizer? Where is the third-party developer support? There are so many features that Google could have added here at launch that would have made Highlight way more interesting, and it could have been a beloved blowout feature from the start, but instead it simply feels way too rushed. And I know guys, Google is going to improve this over time, but they likely had multiple years to flesh this feature out before debuting it on the Pixel 11, which makes this whole edition feel easy to dunk on, easy to make fun of, and I don't blame the tech community for doing so. To be clear, I genuinely like this feature, and I look forward to seeing the improvements, but not everyone is going to give Highlight the same grace that I'm willing to give it. Otherwise, the rest of the hardware is either the same or features iterative improvements. For the first time, I think, ever on a Pixel device, last year's cases do fit this year's phone, at least with the Pixel 11 Pro. I have a ton of Pixel 10 cases sitting around as I wait for my 11 cases to come in, like the Spigen Nano Pop, D-Brand Grip, and the Mouse Limitless case. All 3 fit my Pixel 11 Pro with buttons and speakers and charging ports matching up. It isn't 100% on point though. I noticed sometimes the camera bar on the 11 messes with the alignment, as well as the microphone at the top. It's a bit obstructed using Pixel 10 cases, so I would personally still recommend using a dedicated Pixel 11 case, at least in my opinion. Speaking of accessories, I would also like to mention the Qi tube magnets in the Pixel 11 are noticeably stronger, so MagSafe add-ons should fit much more securely. Beyond that, design-wise, the Pixel 11 Pro is generally the same as last year, which I don't think very many people are complaining about, or at least I'm certainly not. The changes to the camera bar are a lot cleaner, with edge-to-edge glass looking much more minimalist. The colors this year are absolutely gorgeous. The Pixel 11 Pro and Canyon in particular looks awesome in person, and in general, the Pixel 11 Pro still feels like that same high quality, heavy, top tier phone, easily with one of the best designs in the business. Moving on, we can talk about specs where there are a few standout changes as well. The display is a bit brighter at 3600 nits peak, making it even better for outdoor usage. I've been playing a lot of mobile games lately, and the brighter screen definitely helps with clarity. The display also feels smoother as well for some reason, although it's possible that's just placebo. Using it side by side with the Pixel 10 Pro XL, the 11 Pro feels cleaner, more accurate, and responds better. Again, maybe that's just me, but let me know what you think down in the comments if you do happen to have one of these. On top of that, we have the Tensor G6 chip. It's built on a 3nm process instead of a 2nm one like a lot of people would have hoped for. On paper, it just brings the usual improvements. Apps launch 15% faster, and it can browse the web 25% faster, according to Google. In day-to-day use, I don't think it's particularly noticeable. I've played some basic games, I did a lot of test photography in the summer heat, and at one point I used it as a hotspot for my laptop while streaming music from the device itself outside on an 80-degree day where it stayed cool for 2 hours straight, so no complaints there. That might have more to do with the new MediaTek modem, which is Google's first non-Samsung modem ever. Historically, modems on Pixel devices have been the weakest aspect of them all. On first impressions, it seems like a great improvement, but we'll need more time and benchmarks and testing to know exactly how much better it is than last year. Anecdotally, I'm very happy with the stability so far. Moving on, we can get into software, which in my opinion is really the biggest part of the Pixel 11 series, as we received a handful of features under the umbrella of Gemini Intelligence, with the first of two main features being proactive assistance. This is effectively a rebrand of Magic Q with a few new features. For those who don't know, Magic Q was originally introduced on the Pixel 10 to connect information across different Google apps, anticipate your needs, and offer contextual suggestions. During my entire year using Magic Q on the Pixel 10, I can think of maybe a dozen instances where I actually saw it show up, let alone give me a useful suggestion. With proactive assistance, I was able to get relevant suggestions immediately on day one, first try. Tapping on a suggestion usually slides up a bottom sheet with more context, like previewing your calendar for a specific window. It's definitely a cleaner flow, seems way more user-friendly, and I'm truly happy to see Google improving on it. We also have Rambler and Gboard, which was shown off at the Android show a few months back. Being completely honest, the adjustment period to using Rambler wasn't immediately obvious. Unlike the previous voice-to-text experience, you don't get a real-time transcription. Instead, you tap the corner microphone, talk, and then hit the check mark when you're done, where your transcription appears only after the interaction is finished. That means you lose the real-time ability to mix and match your input, like speaking for a little bit, fixing some of the text with your keyboard, and then continuing voice-to-text to finish a thought. Definitely does take some getting used to. Another fun Gemini Intelligence interaction is checking a Google Maps listing and then opening Uber, for example, where you can see the destination pop up immediately in a one-tap flow. At a glance, also shows your store membership cards automatically when you visit a retailer, plus a few others. In my eyes, Google is slowly refining their craft when it comes to practical AI use cases, and it certainly shows this year, even if they aren't mind-blowing additions. Last but not least, we can close out these early impressions by talking about the camera. While we did get a lot of improvements on paper, we'll still need more time to see how it translates to long-term day-to-day use. Immediately though, the first thing that comes to mind is the improved camera sensor hardware. The telephoto lens got a real upgrade with a larger sensor that allows for 30% more light intake alongside 5x periscope zoom, and now has portrait mode support. Side by side, compared with the Pixel 10 Pro, the differences are immediately noticeable when using that 5x lens in nighttime scenarios. Images are cleaner, crisper, sharper, with less noise and far less uncontrolled light bloom, which was a huge issue in previous Pixel phones. It actually makes me look at the Pixel 10 Pro and wonder how Google kept that setup going for so long. Compared to the Pixel 11 Pro, nighttime images on the 10 Pro look grainy, with blotchy details and incredibly harsh light streaks. 9 times out of 10, you are getting a significantly better nighttime photo on the Pixel 11 Pro, especially with that telephoto lens. And with instant night sight, images are not only better looking, but capturing the shot is faster, and the 11 Pro processes the results much quicker side by side. Great job to the Pixel camera team here. Low light performance is something I am very, very happy with so far. With the main lens, Google says it's upgraded, but functionally I can't tell much of a difference when comparing photos side by side. For all intents and purposes, the image quality is effectively identical. You might get slightly less lens glare on the 11 Pro, which is huge, and shadows might seem a bit more pronounced in daytime scenarios, but otherwise, the main lens is a wash with negligible improvements at best, at least from what I can tell so far. And then we have the new camera features. We get 120x zoom now, officially beating out the S26 Ultra's 100x zoom with respectable results. A lot of that resolution is AI enhanced, and it shows, but ultimately it's a nice to have trick that works well on subjects well over 50 feet away. Magic Capture is another new addition, and while I didn't get a chance to test it extensively, my colleagues did, and it yielded good results with fast moving kids and pets, presets. It's easily accessible in the camera app right alongside the main photo and recording mode, so Google clearly wants people using it a lot. Camera looks is new as well, functioning essentially like a built-in Snapseed filter, which I'd personally rather use Snapseed anyway, but good on Google for adding it natively. Finally, the Creator Toolkit brings social media grid lines, a teleprompter, an audio visualizer, and more, alongside the screen reactions feature added a while back. It's very obvious that Google is focusing heavily on creators with their recent camera tools, and I am all for it. That has historically been the one area where Apple dominates, so if Google can give creators a real reason to rely on their cameras, it'll go a long way in keeping Pixel relevant. That said, we still don't have log video recording, and Video Boost still relies on the cloud instead of processing on device. That limitation alone could hold back a lot of creators from treating this the same way as they would an iPhone or Galaxy device, so maybe Google can hopefully fix that in the future. Keep in mind, my friends, this is just 1 week with the Pixel 11 Pro. There is still so much more to test. There's side-by-side comparisons to be made. The software updates in the pipeline could add much more utility. Not to mention, the new iPhone is still a month away, and depending on what Apple brings, that could shift the narrative around the Pixel 11 entirely, so needless to say, we are very far from a final verdict. To be clear, the improvements here are good. I'm constantly seeing posts with people bragging about being able to get the 11 series for under $300 with a trade-in, so I don't think the $100 price increase is hurting people as much as the narrative would lead you to believe. I think the bigger issue is many of these new additions on the Pixel 11 could have and should easily be a software update for older devices. And the new hardware, specifically with Highlight, the Tensor G6 chip, the iterative main sensor, although it is improved, less RAM for the base model Pro, and a smaller battery, isn't bringing enough to the table to make the Pixel 11 feel like a blowout must-have upgrade. Regardless, we still have a lot more testing to do, so we're not making the final verdict just yet. We're going to spend some real dedicated time diving deep into the Pixel 11 series to find all the hidden gems and such, so if you want to stay up to date, stick around and subscribe for more Google Pixel content. In the meantime, my friends, I'm getting out of here. If you have any Pixel 11 questions, please put them down in the comments as I will be reading every single one of them. Until next time, this has been Jordan Floyd with 9to5 Google. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.